Hi, friends and family,
Welcome to Hope After Addiction
with your hosts, Katie Comer.
and Chelsea McLeod.
Hi, welcome to Hope After Addiction. We are so happy that you've joined us today. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I don't
Yeah.
remember if last time we talked, but my kids started back to school.
I think
Did
that
they?
was, but I was like, I want to hear about the latest.
Okay.
How's it going?
Yeah, so they start back to school, and Eli is in like a different part of the school now. He's with the big kids, and it made me so sad. And so we like dropped him off, and they let us take him into school the first day.
Yeah.
And I said, I can take you into school the first day. And he goes, are the other third graders doing that? And I said, I don't really know, but I'm going to do it for Ella. So do you want me to do it for you? And he is like, I'll be looking around. And so we went in, and I think he did see some parents going down. He was like, okay, these are my boundaries.
Oh my goodness.
He goes, you can walk down the hallway with me, but do not go into the classroom because that's for babies. And I was like, no. It's just like he's growing up, and it's just, I mean, I love it. I love that he's grown up. I love that he has the independence and that he's confident. But it's just like so sad when they grow up. And he's with the 3rd through 5th graders. So it's like the big kids. I know.
I'd have probably gotten in the car and cried myself.
I know. I came
all the way home,
and I told Adam what happened, and he was like, "How you doing?" And I kind of started tearing up. He's like, "It's okay. This is what they're meant to do, to grow up." But Ella's like, "Come on, we'll just sit down with me still." You know, she's still in that stage, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fine. We're fine.
We're fine. Don't blink. Everything's fine.
I mean, at least he still wanted me to walk down the hallway.
Yeah.
We still have that.
Yeah.
So.
And I applaud you for giving him that space.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, do you want me to? And he got to make that decision.
Yeah, I really wanted to be like, I'm going.
Yeah, for sure.
Give me this.
Yeah.
Internally, I was like, let me do it. Let me do it.
Yes. At least you got the hall walk.
Yeah, I did. I did. So anyway, but it was good. It's good. It's I love their teachers.
Good.
I think their teachers are great.
Yeah.
And
how's the early wake up?
it's fine.
Are they? Yeah,
I
good.
mean, they both grunt in the morning because I'm like waking them up. But it's definitely a transition.
Yeah.
Going from summer to because they got to be there at like 7:30. So it's early, right? So, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Anyway.
Yes.
But you good?
Yeah.
Anything new with you?
Trying to think. Not really. Just still processing Ecuador, but other than that, just all is well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, today we are talking about progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. And so when I was studying for this, it's interesting because I never really sat down and thought about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of heard that throughout life a little bit, but when I was studying for it and like really leaning into it, I was like, well, I want to be perfect. You know, I want to be more like Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the goal, right? But we're never going to be perfect. Only Christ is perfect. And so really digging into the word and the meaning and progress in our lives and what that looks like for us as believers and for us as loved ones who have loved ones that are in this season where they have been anything but perfect.
Yep.
And they have made no progress in their life.
Yeah.
But they're like looking into their life and like really leaning into that progress of their life. So it's been interesting. I'm interested to see kind of like the spin that you did.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what's something that stood out to you?
This one's a big one for me because I am, they say, like a perfectionist in recovery, which is absolutely me. And my perfectionism goes pretty far back to abandonment, where there's a lot of people think it's perfectionism as a healthy thing, but there's a lot of downfall to it too. And so little things like if I can't do it 100%, I don't do it at all. So procrastination comes in, or Bible reading. Like if I can't sit down with my highlighters and my pens for 30 minutes and read my 5 chapters, I'm like, nope, can't do it. That's not true. progress. Read 2 chapters without a highlighter. It's okay. But I was in my garden last night, and of course those are my garden lessons, and just thinking over these subjects and topics. And my garden is a little fluffy right now because the weed, it's towards the end of the summer, the weeds are there, the crabgrass, but I was going through there picking all kinds of stuff like butternut squash and okra and potatoes. And I was like, you know what, God? My garden is everything but perfect right now, but I'm still getting fruit.
No.
And I was like, that is what like this is
That's
about.
so
Like
good, yeah.
life is not perfect and it never will be. And so we will always be, I know for me, dissatisfied, disappointed because we're never going to reach perfection. Like that is for Christ and that is for heaven.
Yeah.
And so, you know, last night in the garden, I was like, you're right. I'm still going to get fruit out of my life, even when it's not perfect. And it's still going to be sweet and it's still going to be good. I'm going to have my bad potatoes once in a while, but
We all.
yeah, for sure. But it's not perfection. So yeah, I went through a couple. I mean, the first one I would say I focused on was progress, not perfection, in our loved one's story.
Yeah. I had that.
So what do you have on that one?
Yeah.
'Cause that's
so
a big one.
I think oftentimes because our loved ones were so not perfect and let us down for so long, and over again. Sometimes, a lot of times, we miss the progress that our loved ones are beginning in their journey. So there's bitterness that can kind of block. It's like a glasses that you have, like sunglasses, like, oh, I can't see the progress because you've done me so wrong in life. And so I would say I was at fault for that for sure.
Yeah.
Right. I've heard multiple times. It's almost like, I'm trying to think of the word I use, like a helicopter, parent or loved one or wife, when they get out of rehab specifically, it's like you leave them no room to progress in their journey when they get home.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you to let the progress happen and let that progress be natural and give them opportunities to show you that they've progressed in their walk with the Lord, that they've grown in their progress to show you that you can trust them a little bit. And so, but for so often we expect perfection, even in our loved ones, when that's never going to be the case. They're never going to be perfect. They're going to let you down. Now we can set boundaries so that those things that they do that mess up aren't like relapse, and that you're putting those safeguards in your life. But they're never going to be perfect. They're never going to be the perfect husband or the perfect son. But they are progressing to be more Christ-like, right?
Yeah, that's so good. And that was a big one. And I'd read a book, and this is a really good one just for this subject, but it's called Grace, Not Perfection. And I think during this season and like the last 6 years, that has been one of my biggest lessons, because there's 3 different types of perfectionism, and I have a couple of them. But I'm very hard on myself, but I'm also very hard on the people that I'm in relationships with, i.e. John. And so when he got out, I expected perfection. And I think back to just like you said, I mean, I did. I was like, there's no room for mistake. If I see one little action, we're going backwards.
Yeah.
If you mess up, it's all over. That is not the case. Yeah. And I have learned so much. And I think it's humbleness, honestly, because I can't expect perfection out of him because I'm not perfect. And I fail every day and I make mistakes. And even I was talking to a girl about this the other day, but you know, John would have a bad day and I would be like, ugh, what's going on? You know? And I had to remind myself, I have bad days too. Like he is learning. John was a baby Christian. He was walking into the man that God has called him to be. And in this freedom, and like John's learning how to be this man and how to be a follower of God and a warrior for Christ. And like, it doesn't happen overnight. So it took a lot of grace from me, even during a bad day. And even during relapses, you know, I was the one when he got out, I was like, if you ever do this again, we're done. Yeah. Period. Yeah. Here we are 6 years later and 2 relapses. Yeah. And I thank God. Like, we are so much stronger, even with the relapses and how they happened. And I am so grateful for the humbleness that's come with that, because that is not me.
Yeah.
I struggle greatly with perfectionism.
Yeah.
And so learning to grace them as they come out, like they're learning this new life just as we are.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Like, relearning your loved one and who they are in this journey. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And something you said is it doesn't happen overnight. One thing that I have written down is that progress is gradual.
Yes.
Right. It's not overnight. And to give grace in that process, because as soon as they come home, you do expect that in some sort of way, like, okay, he's a new person, which he is in Christ. A lot of times these guys find the Lord, in this journey.
Yeah.
And they're a new creation, but it's a gradual growth because they're still, like you said, John was a baby Christian.
Yeah.
It's a gradual growth to who God's called them to be.
Yeah.
And so progress is not an instantaneous, like, all right, I'm good. So for your loved ones, showing that grace and showing that, patience.
That's a good word. Yeah.
You have to be kind of patient with them, and they have to be patient with you too.
Yes, for sure.
Because you're relearning them. So, I mean, it's just like a gradual process. So when you said that overnight thing, I was like, oh yeah, I have that.
Yeah, and it's true. And John works with a lot of the guys and reminds them, as they were super patient with you, you have to be patient with them now. And this is both of us putting perfectionism down and adding patience and grace to that. Yeah. And one of the things is I had to focus, I still do, on the bigger picture. Because if I get so focused on the minute details, I lose sight of what God's doing in the bigger picture. Yeah. And it's easy to get fixated on the little things or the little tone that he had, or, and just go back to where God is like, let's look at the greater picture. Like, you're both walking forward as warriors of mine. Yeah. Let's focus on that.
That's good.
And that's not always easy.
That's not always easy. What's your other point?
The other one is learning to love progress, not perfection, which this has been
learning
a great challenge. Yeah. And welcome it, I guess. And so I'm super hard on myself, and many of y'all know that. And even when I make mistakes, it's been like, you know what, Chelsea, that's okay, because you're growing. Looking at my garden yesterday, because I would have sat there and just beaten myself up. Like, you didn't take care of this. You should have picked those weeds sooner. And it's like, you know what? Like, it's okay. You have a garden and you're getting food out of it.
I still got a great potato.
Right. Like, this potato is so good. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a good baked potato.
But learning to love that and not expect perfection out of myself.
Yeah. One of the stories that came to mind with, it's just kind of funny that some of our stuff kind of overlaps, but learning to love the progress. And one of the stories is the prodigal son. Yes. And where he thought his father was done with him, but his father accepted him back, and he made progress in being able to humble himself. And what that turned into. Yeah. And so him turning away from sin and coming back to the Father, and his father learning to love that process and learning to love his son. And so the prodigal son, or, the prodigal husband or the wife, who's turned away from sin, and or the father in the story, learning to love this process and the progress that our loved one is making. Yeah. It's hard. It's difficult. It's not easy, but it's sweet. It's sweet to relearn your loved one in this time of them relearning themselves and relearning, or learning how to progress into, like I said, the Christian that they are called to be. Yeah. Who God called them to be.
Yeah. And that's one of those, especially if you're in the middle of it, man, how hard that is to see progress right now. Yeah. And if you're waiting for that yes to rehab, like if you're waiting with a loved one that's on the streets right now, like that is hard to see any kind of progress. And that's that hope that even like the dad waiting in prayer, on that porch.
Yeah.
Sit on
Yes.
that porch and wait
Yeah.
in expectation for that, because that's a really hard place to even have any mind of progress in your eyes right now, because you can't see it.
Yeah. And through that progress and through the progress at day after day, you will start to see the transformation that you've been so wanting to see. So through the progress comes transformation, and the new life that you've been so desperately praying for.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Right.
The ultimate goal. And I think
Yeah.
with that is, you know, I have to remind myself often, like, celebrate the small victories, celebrate the big victories, celebrate the small victories. Like, I know now I try and celebrate everything in a way that we never did, because I know that we're living a life that Satan didn't want us to live. And so I'm like, I'm going to celebrate the big. I'm going to celebrate the small, the simple. I'm going to celebrate that, because, like, God, I am glorifying you in this, because Satan didn't want us sitting here in progress. He wanted us sitting here in complete defeat, and we're not. And so in that place, when you're walking towards that progress and perfection, walking toward perfection as we always are towards Christ, focus on the small things, celebrate the small things, because that will change your entire perspective to not be focused on perfectionism, but gratitude.
Girl, you're preaching to me.
Hey,
Because,
me too.
Like, listen, because listen, there are times when you just get so, like, even though, like, our life is great and God is so good, I sometimes forget everything that he's done.
I know.
Right? And where we're sitting at today doing a podcast for people, that's just wild.
Yeah.
But, like, just sit back and look at what God has done and the transformation that he's done, and celebrate those good things.
Yeah.
That my husband is free from drugs.
Yep.
You know, like, he's free.
Yeah.
And he's a father, and he's a good one.
Yep. Yes.
You know?
Yes. And that.
And, like, where we might not have even made it. We're celebrating that we're married. You know, that's a small miracle.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? And so, like, sometimes we can forget it and just get, you know,
We do.
ugly.
Yeah, we
You know?
do. Well, and that's the thing, like, focus if your loved one is in rehab.
Yeah.
Focus on,
Yes,
like,
focus on that,
celebrating
and if you're in
they
that
said yes. Yeah.
In that
If
space.
your loved one has called to ask questions, my brother's calling asking questions.
Oh,
Y'all got to
good.
celebrate that.
Yeah.
Like, that is huge. And I know it's not perfect. I know he is still doing what he's doing, but I have to celebrate that he is finally asking questions.
He's communicating.
Yes, knowing that he needs that help. Focus on that. Like, focus on the little bit that God is doing, because he wants us to find joy in that, which I love.
Yeah, that's good. You got anything else?
I had, what does God say about perfectionism?
Yeah.
The biggest one is, he says, I love you just as you are. That one's taken me a long time to learn, coming from an absent father.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back to Psalms 139, where he says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And he loves you just like you are, no matter how messy, no matter how broken, what your past is, what your decisions were. He loves you just like you are, and does not expect perfection. We don't expect perfection from our kids.
Yeah.
Like, Jasper makes mistakes. I'm like, all right, buddy. Like, we make messes. We are messy. We're going to keep going.
Yeah. We'll do it better next time.
Yeah. Just remember that, like, God loves you just as you are.
Yeah.
Do not attach your worth to your performance or achievements.
Yeah.
Or theirs, or your loved ones, because we're not attached to that. God loves us just as we are. And that one, you know, it reminds me of Matthew 11, is come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest.
Yeah.
And just come to him and let him handle all the downfalls, the hard times, all of it.
I have, when you said that about Matthew, I was like, oh yeah, I want to make sure that I have this. Romans 3:23. And, you know, we a lot of times expect perfection in our loved ones, but if we go back to the root of it, all have sinned.
Yes.
And fallen short of the glory of God. Just because theirs is more public.
That's right.
Right? We all have sinned. You have sinned. I know your loved one's done you wrong. And you don't have trust. But we have all sinned, and we have all fallen short of the glory of God.
Yep.
We need to take an inner look at ourselves. Yes, your loved one does too. But we're all trying to make progress to be more Christ-like. because we've all fallen short of the glory of God.
Yep. And it's so funny that you bring that up because I have Matthew 5 and deal with the log in your own eye and not the speck in theirs.
Yeah.
And one version says, don't pick on people, jump on their failures, or criticize their faults unless you want that same treatment. Yes, there are the finite details of the greater picture we have to look at, but oftentimes when I want to pick at John, I remember this and I'm like, hey, why don't you focus on yourself right now? Mm-hmm. Focus on yourself and God will take care of the rest, you know?
Yeah.
But it's true because we're all broken. Yeah. We're all messy.
We are.
I'm just messy in a different way than he is.
Yeah. And sometimes you're messy and they're messy. One's more public.
Yes.
One's more, you know, and so I get that it gets a bad rap.
Yes, for sure.
And it's very costly.
Yeah.
Sometimes their life. Yeah. And we get that.
For sure.
But we are not perfect. Mm-mm. And so, yes, take an internal look at you and how you can make progress in your walk with the Lord. Mm-hmm. And you can make progress to be more Christ-like, to move towards perfection. You will never be perfect, but neither will your loved one. Yeah. But they're making progress, and we need to trust the process of transformation.
Trust the process. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Trust that process.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's all I have.
Okay. Well, we hope that you found some encouragement today talking about this topic. We're looking forward to next week. If you have anything that you want to reach out to us about, if there's something that we have not talked about and you're like, man, I really wish they would talk about this because this is where I'm really struggling. Yeah. This is where we get some of our topics. And so we would love to communicate with you and offer you encouragement, but at the same time, we might be texting each other going, we need to put this in.
Yes,
We'll never use your name, but we will use it as a topic. So we encourage that. So if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Hope After Addiction, you can follow along with any announcements that we have. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, you can also leave a comment and we'll make sure we respond to that. Give us a like and a subscribe, if you will. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us. We hope that you have a blessed day and that you have felt encouraged today.